Well, hello everyone, how are you doing this fine day? Hope you're enjoying your week. Welcome to another survival challenge. In particular, a totally different survival challenge than anything you've seen before. We're gonna do something different today. You know how I like to do things differently. So you guys should know how it works. Normally I take 4 different universes, factions, characters, whatever, and I chuck them into some sort of situation to see if they could survive. I don't normally do like a 1v1 or like a one universe versus one universe or whatever. I've done it before, but I don't usually do it. But I think I'm gonna start doing it more often because it allows me to go into more detail and talk about things in more detail, I guess. Yeah. And for today, I got a shotgun blast of inspiration right into my brain. We're gonna take the dark side force users and we're gonna put them against the Warframes. Now, originally my idea for this video was just take all force users, or specifically Jedi and Sith, basically anybody with a lightsaber, and throw them up in against the Warframes. But then I realized that title would be stupid. Like, would these Jedi and Sith survive war? Like, what? No. And then I came to a secondary realization that all of the characters that I most wanted to talk about were all Sith. Jedi are kind of lame. I just straight up don't care about any of the Jedi characters. All of the coolest Jedi characters I could think of eventually become Sith. I don't know. I feel like Jedi really gotta up their game when it comes to just having interesting characters and storylines. They're just kind of meh. And they almost always have the same fucking story. Are you gonna go to the dark side? No? Okay. End of story. Or are they gonna go to the dark side? Yes. And then they become more interesting. That doesn't matter. All you need to know is that in this video, we're gonna take all the dark side Sith-like characters. We might throw some in there that aren't Sith, that are just characters with lightsabers that are evil and are on the dark side. But for the most part, it's gonna be Sith. And we're gonna put them up against the Warframes, not the Tenno. There's a distinction there. The Tenno are a bunch of unkillable fucking void-possessed children, and the Warframe are like a bunch of people suits. We're going up against the Warframes before they were controlled by the Tenno. Let's just be clear about that. We got it? We good? Okay, cool. But I've wasted enough of your time. Let's get started. So we're gonna do things a little bit differently in this video. We're gonna have a misconception section. I know, you're all like, what? Fuck you, Root, what are you doing? You're throwing some curveballs and shit. You can't be doing that. I don't like change. But that's too bad, because you're about to get some fucking change. We're gonna have a misconception section, because more so than most universes I do, Star Wars and Warframe, their communities have a lot of misconceptions about their own universe that they like. Some massive fucking misconceptions. And so this doesn't sound like me just shitting on Star Wars and Warframe the whole time, because I actually like Star Wars and Warframe. I don't want to shit on them the whole time. You just put it all in one section. Anytime someone says some bullshit or any arguments that I get a lot of in the comment section or in debate streams or whatever, which happens often, once a week, you should show up. It's really fun. I always hear the exact same points being made, and they're bullshit. And so we're just gonna make like a whole section right here where I'm just gonna go over all the bullshit stuff. That way, when I actually talk about things like speed and power and all that stuff in the actual video, I don't have to stop the video to be like, by the way, this is a bunch of shit. It's not true. Here's the real stuff. It's just gonna seem like I'm shitting on them. I'm not shitting on them. I want to be very clear about that. So first up, we're gonna cover the misconceptions that Star Wars has made, because I probably think that Star Wars has more misconceptions. Don't feel bad, Star Wars fans. Star Wars is considerably older than Warframe is. It's had a lot more time to let those misconceptions gel and fester. First misconception of the Star Wars fans is that Jedi and Sith are planetary bare minimum characters who are capable of blowing up solar systems, and there's these massively powerful cosmic beings that can just do all kinds of crazy over-the-top bullshit. The only reason why the Death Star was even required is because Palpatine didn't want to reveal to the entire universe that he was capable of that level of power. But in reality, Palpatine himself could have just destroyed the planet with no problem. Wouldn't have even been an issue. It's very casual stuff. This is total bullshit. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of feats that people like to talk about when they talk about this level of power that Force users have, but, you know, they're all bullshit. But Rouga, you might say, you don't understand. When Plagueis died, Palpatine said that he saw the stars themselves shake. That's bare minimum a solar system feat. It might even be up to galactic levels of power. No, never happened. You didn't actually read it, did you? Good for you, you're not gay. For one, it is very clearly shown in the novel that what Palpatine is experiencing is a vision. It's not real. But even if that were the case, if you actually look to the wording, it doesn't really say that the stars are shaking. The actual wording is, it seemed as if the stars themselves shook. That's not the same thing. That is what we call hyperbole, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies. There ain't no fucking ladies watching this video. No, I'm lying. We got like 4% ladies, right? Sorry, don't want to disregard you guys. We love you. Probably too much. You might want to stay away from the comment section. This is one of many examples that I will bring up over the course of this video of people not actually reading the thing where the thing happens and instead taking it from some dude online who said a thing, who's trying to manipulate the situation and force the numbers. If you actually read the story, no way this could possibly be interpreted him as the stars actually being shooken by the power of the fucking force. It's very clearly not the case. But Rouga, you might say, you don't understand. Poof, who's an act, that's his name is Poof, he's a Jedi Master. He stopped an artifact from blowing up the whole planet. It exploded and he contained the explosion and saved that. Like, if it's a planetary explosion that he stopped. How is that not planetary? Because he didn't actually do that. I had legitimate conversation with several people in the comments, as well as on a debate stream, where someone said that he contained an explosion without realizing that the fucking artifact never actually went off. What Poof did, such a fucking weird name, what Poof did is he calmed an artifact that was about to explode and stopped it from going off. Again, that's not the same thing. But Rouga, you don't understand. Nihilus just goes around and destroys planets all willy-nilly. He does it all the time. I've seen him do it. He just uses the power of the Force to just rip the fucking planet apart. Does he though? Or does he have the Haxi power to absorb Force energy, including planets, and because those planets don't have Force energy, they fall apart, which is what is specifically stated to happen, not that he uses the Force to actually pull the planets apart. This is a Haxi ability of Force absorption or life absorption, if you want to kind of blend it in with other non-Force universes. There is nothing in here that ever states or even implies that he just has the ability to rip the planet apart with the powers of the Force. It's just a natural occurrence of what happens when you just remove all of the life from a planet. Not genuine physical Force power. Force as in like the scientific Force, not like it is very clearly Force in Star Wars. I'm talking about physical damage. This is going to be very confusing. I don't know how to say it. It's Force. It's fucking science Force. He didn't do that. The fact of the matter is that one of the absolute most powerful things that we've ever seen any character in this entire universe do, not including like the weird god Force characters and Legends, because I'm aware that there are literal gods in Star Wars, but like actual Sith, is when Palpatine made a Force storm around the entire world. There really isn't that much that compares to that. There's a couple of things that are close and maybe a few things that are arguable, but it doesn't matter. That's not a planetary level thing. And it doesn't in any way prove that Palpatine with the Force can like start moving continents and shit. I've talked about this example in the past, but it's like, you know, Storm from the X-Men. She can make a planet-wide storm if she wants to, but you can go kill her with a fucking pocket knife. Pull out a pocket knife, stab her, she'll bleed out and die. She doesn't have the physical Force ability to just fucking blow up planets. It doesn't exist. That's the same way in Star Wars. These characters do not have this amount of ability, but people will constantly argue with me that yes, they do, but they've never been able to bring up a legitimate point of where it actually happens. In one of my debate streams, I actually had like a solid 45 minutes of arguing with 3 or 4 different dudes who all said that yes, Palpatine can do all this stuff, he just doesn't, because that would go against his over-the-top massive master plan. But no matter how long the debate went on, they wouldn't give me an example of him being able to do it. You have to prove this shit. You can't just fucking say it. I didn't even make him show it to me. All I had to say was just tell me what it is. You don't have to tell me where it is. Just tell me something he does. Nobody can do it because it never fucking happens. Star Wars misconception number 2. All Force users, both Jedi and Sith, are bare minimum light speed, as they are capable of deflecting and defending and dodging against light speed attacks, specifically all of the different laser weapons that exist within Star Wars. Bullshit. Did you know that there is not a single light-based laser weapon that exists throughout all of Star Wars lore anywhere? Not in novels, not in games, nowhere. It doesn't exist. They don't use the technology at all. But Rouga, you might be saying, that's bullshit, because we see all manner of different weapons that are just straight up called laser weapons in the series. Oftentimes characters will shoot things and it's called in the novels that they're shooting lasers. They're lasers. Lasers means light. What are you talking about? Yes, that's true. There's a lot of statements all over the place that call things lasers, like they're firing lasers. Like, for instance, the turbo laser. But when the turbo laser is introduced, the projectiles is specifically described as hardened plasma. And yes, that is the case for literally every other weapon that is introduced that is called a laser. In the Star Wars universe, the word laser is interchangeable with any type of beam of energy that's fired out of any weapon. Blaster bolts have been stated to be plasma on multiple occasions. It is called plasma or particle beams. However, those same plasma bolts have also been called lasers, just as a generic term for a glowing-ish energy-based beam. This is across all of Star Wars. Even the Great Death Star, its massive planetary destroying blast, which in Star Wars has been called a laser in the past, is also specifically described as plasma that is enhanced by kyber crystals and unstable, so that when it hits a target, it explodes in this massive reaction that could blow up planets. But it is talked about as being plasma. Every single weapon in the entire universe fires some form of particle beam or plasma, never at any point are any of these things actually described as light, despite the fact that they are oftentimes called lasers by characters in the series, because the people who write these books don't give a fuck about what a laser is scientifically. None of these projectiles fly anywhere close to light. In fact, odds are they don't even fly as fast as bullets, because you have no idea the science behind having to make a fucking plasma beam fly at the same speed that a bullet flies. And there's so many things in Star Wars that point at it not being that. Like, for instance, even the sound isn't right when the plasma comes out of the guns. If it was breaking the sound barrier, it would sound very different than how it actually sounds in the movies and shows, which personally I do agree is probably going a little bit too far. The creators just didn't give a shit about. They just wanted it to sound cool. They didn't care about making it sound as if it was literally traveling faster than sound. Fair enough, I get that. But there's no evidence it's going light speed. And people keep claiming it's going light speed simply because the term laser is being used. Now, there is some other stuff that people like to point at as proof that these characters are light speed. Like, there's this one ridiculous calculation with Darth Malik in Knights of the Old Republic. But I mean, Jesus, just check that shit out, because man, are they fucking make massive stretch. Insane levels of universal stretchage on that shit. That's like Mr. Fantastic Luffy levels of stretching that they are doing. They like take the pixels of the game and compare it to the stars moving in the outside the ship, and it's what? Also heard the argument they're light speed because Palpatine sends his soul from his body to a different body that's like across the galaxy, so his soul was traveling at massively faster than light. Cool. I mean, if he can do that with his physicals, then you have an argument. There's also a statement in the novels where it describes a character's reaction speed as a nanosecond, which is yet another example of characters taking certain wording and twisting it to mean what they want it to mean. Nowhere in that novel does it ever say that the character realized a projectile was coming, pulled out his lightsaber, turned it on, deflected the bolt, all within that single nanosecond. What the statement was clearly saying, which is kind of common sense if you know anything about Star Wars, is that there was essentially no reaction time at all for him to realize it was coming, because his movements are controlled by the Force. The moment the blaster bolt was fired, the Jedi started moving to deflect it. It doesn't mean the entire action was within a nanosecond. Star Wars fans should know that this makes sense, that the character wouldn't have a reaction time, or the reaction time would be nanosecond based, because they are guided by the Force. But taking that one little statement and try and stretch it and mean that they can do all of these crazy actions within that same nanosecond, come on, y'all. Again, massive stretch. Massive stretch. Star Wars misconception number 3. Within the Star Wars universe's lightsabers are these crazy, over-the-top, amazing, durability negating, ultimate power, magic, space bullshit magic. They can cut through anything and is amazing in every way. Bullshit. Let's play a little game. Multiple choice. What do you think that Star Wars lightsabers are made out of? A, bullshit space magic, B, light, or C, plasma. I'll give you a second to answer. Go ahead. Okay, time's up. It's fucking plasma. Yet another example of a weapon or something being called light within the Star Wars universe that is not at all light is plasma. Again. This not only really helps my previous point about things being called lasers not necessarily being lasers, but also plasma's good, you know? Plasma's, it's pretty good. It's tight, you know? It's baller, is that what the kids say, you know? It's groovy, but it's not fucking invincible, and we see this in the Star Wars universe. There are several metals that it is shown either not being able to cut through or struggling heavily to cut through. And I'm talking about before the whole Disney bullshit even exists. All the way back in episode 1, we see Qui-Gon seriously struggle to cut through a door with his lightsaber. It takes like 20 minutes to get all the way through it. It has never been shown to be this thing that can just cut through anything, but everyone I talk to about lightsabers talk about it as if it can. There have been people with more patience than me that actually went and like calculated how hot a lightsaber would have to be in order to do some of the things that it does in the movies and the extended universe, and they came to the conclusion that it should be about 25,000 Kelvin. That's super impressive. 25,000 Kelvin is hot enough to melt basically any material that exists here on Earth or in our known universe. But it's not that impressive. I mean, just as a comparison, a lightning bolt can be around 30,000 Kelvin, and human beings have survived being hit by lightning bolts. It's not an instant kill. It takes time to burn through things and to melt things, just like lightsabers are shown to take time to melt things in the Star Wars universe. I mean, shit, our technology in the real world has shown that we are capable of making hotter plasmas than exist within the lightsabers. The hottest plasma we've ever been able to make is over 5 trillion Kelvin. We can make all sorts of crazy fucking hot shit. Lightsabers are neither hotter than the hottest naturally occurring plasmas, nor is it the hottest man-made plasma. So what the fuck is this argument all about? Why do you guys think this shit is like fucking insanely awesome? It's just plasma. Again, if it's in Star Wars and it's glowing and it hurts you, it's probably fucking plasma. Star Wars misconception number 4. Overusing the Force is bullshit. That's some Disney shit that they added because they bastards and they wanted to fuck up my whole series. So they're like, oh, Luke died because he overused the Force. You can't overuse the Force. What the fuck are you talking about? Yes, you can. Again, I don't understand how these people can claim to be fans, like hardcore fans of this stuff, and they clearly don't read the shit. It's just as bad as Christians who claim to be Christians but never read the Bible. It's the same shit. Stop pretending you're a fake fan. There are several instances all over the extended universe of characters overusing the Force. It has literally been described in these stories as every Force user having a Force reservoir, and every Force user's Force reservoir is different. Some people have bigger ones, some people have smaller ones. But if you start using too much of it and you run out of that Force reservoir, you then have to stop using the Force because you could pass out or at worst die. Now, Luke Skywalker is the first character that I'm aware of that has actually died from it. Most characters just pass out or just aren't capable of doing it anymore. So that's kind of a new phenomenon. But the idea that a character can use the Force to such an extent and keep themselves awake, just like force themselves to not pass out using their entire reservoir and then killing themselves, totally fucking possible. In fact, Nihilus specifically was killing people by stealing all of the Force in their bodies. So we know that that's something that absolutely can happen. Why is it so weird? There are even Sith rituals that are specifically stated to be deadly to people, and you could die doing them because it overuses the Force. This is all shit that's existed in Star Wars long before Disney ever even purchased them. I'm not a fan of Disney Star Wars or anything. I think it's just as shitty as everybody else. But not every single thing they've ever done is a fucking blasphemy towards Star Wars. That's a very valid thing to have happen to Luke Skywalker, that he could die overusing it. Every other thing they did with his character, not so much. But that thing, yeah, that's totally I could buy into that, sure. And we're done with the Star Wars misconceptions. Time to go to the Warframe misconceptions. And this one is difficult. Warframe's misconceptions aren't like Star Wars. Star Wars, they're all generalizations. They're too strong. They're too fast. There's something about the whole universe as a whole that's got a misunderstanding about it. With Warframe, it's always specific things. I can't just make a generalization with this one. I actually have to go through each and every little fucking thing, which I'm not going to do, but I will name a couple. Some of them I've already talked about. Like, for instance, how Limbo, there's a misconception that he can just banish as many people as he wants into his other dimension and then erase them from existence. I get comments on all my videos where I talk about Limbo that this is something he can do, despite the fact that nowhere in the entire series does it say this. It doesn't show it, doesn't say it, doesn't imply it. It's just completely fabricated by the fan base. There's a lot of stuff like that about characters' powers and how they work that isn't in any way supported by the series. One ongoing joke that I have on my channel when it comes to talking about Warframe is Frost. Why the fuck is Frost even in this series? You have characters who can control antimatter and time and all this shit, and then Frost just like freezes some shit. And it's mostly a joke. Of course I like Frost as a character and gameplay and shit. He's fun to play with. But every single time I make this joke about Frost not belonging here because he's severely underpowered because his power is fucking freezing shit, I get at least 2 or 3 comments telling me, well, actually, Frost doesn't have the power of freezing shit. He has the power of stopping molecules, you dumb fuck. He is an insanely powerful character. What the fuck do you guys think this is? Marvel with fucking Iceman? No, he doesn't. He just freezes shit. Nowhere in the entire game, anywhere, in statements by the developers, in ability descriptions, any backstory, does it ever say that he can control molecules. He just freezes shit. Ember, she's just fire. That's it. It's as simple as it is. There are actually a lot of Warframe that have very weak, not that great powers and aren't that strong in terms specifically of their powers. Physical abilities are basically all impressive, but if we're talking about specifically their powers, there are a couple of god level beings that have insane over the top shit, and then a bunch of them that's just kind of like, you know, I got like electric powers and I can run fast. You know, they're not all that impressive. Like, there's this really weird belief among Warframe fans that there's no real limit to the range that these powers can utilize. Like, every time I get into a conversation with someone about Warframe when it comes to power levels, somebody always says something like, oh, this character can do this across whole planets or across the whole solar system, or like they just exaggerate the range of the power. Like, Protea can just freeze time. Just all of time everywhere, like in the whole universe of Warframe, she can just freeze it all. No, in the series, we see that there's a very clear limit to the range of her time-stopping abilities. And no, I'm not talking about gameplay here. I'm talking about in the actual story. In the story, Protea takes like a pocket of time. She like makes a little time place that exists outside of the normal timeline. It's like a little pocket of time outside of normal time, and she just chills there with the dude who started the Corpos. I'm forgetting his name. And she's there for a super long time, and time doesn't move, so this dude doesn't fucking age for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. This pocket of time that she creates, people call it a fucking universe. It's not a universe. It's like the size of a ship, like one ship. Ain't that impressive? There's a lot of situations like this where characters will show their power and it only affect like, I don't know, fucking 20 yards or so. Like, it's decent, but this idea that they can utilize their power on a damn near limitless range is just complete fabrication by the fan base. There's a lot of shit in this game that is just a complete and utter fabrication by the fan base. And also, much like Star Wars and really any fandom that is heavily involved with the power system of its own series, they like to misread things, I'm assuming on purpose, and just passing it off as what they would like the feat to be as opposed to what it actually is. Like Atlas destroying a meteor. There was a meteor that was going towards a planet, it was going to destroy the planets, and Atlas destroys the meteor, and they're like, oh, he fucking planetary level because he punched a meteor, blew it up, and they completely ignore the fact that he had tons of help and that it took them forever. They were like hitting all of these weak points of the meteor and then sending vibrations through it to slowly break it apart. And then after the meteor was so destabilized that it was basically just going to fall apart with ease, he then uses a geomancy-based attack, because Atlas is a geomancer with the ability to move rock and earth. He then delivers the final blow into it, and it then spreads apart, saving the planet. But people ignore all of his context, and they're just like, nah, he just punches it into fucking non-existence, into dust, because he's a fucking planet-destroying punching dude. And I could just kind of keep going on and on. There's just a lot of stuff that people keep ignoring, right? Like Rhino stomps so hard that he freezes time, and it's just based on strength, nothing else. He just stomps, he freezes time, and that's it. He's so strong he could literally break time. It's like, no, it's based on density. Like they've explained it. It's like he basically creates an area of a space that becomes so dense that everything within it freezes, and it gives the effect as if it's controlling time and it's freezing time. This has been explained. A lot of this stuff has been explained, but people just fucking ignore it. Like I said, if I just went on with all the stuff that people misinterpret about Warframe, this would be an hour-long video just from that. I actually don't know how long this video is going to be. I just started it. But just from that section, it would be like an hour-long video. So I'm not going to do that. But just know that as I'm talking about Warframe, if I say some shit and you're like, huh, I think I've heard something different, or I've seen, maybe look into it a little bit. Because there's a lot of false shit that goes around the Warframe community. It is pretty fucking massive. But hey, I got through this section pretty quick at least. You know, that's cool. That's a bonus. You can get the fucking video started now. If you're enjoying the video, make sure to like, subscribe, comment, share, and join the membership. I did recently make all the membership videos free to anyone to see, so you don't get that, but you get other stuff. I'm gonna get you other stuff. Okay, I'm gonna get you. We're brain thinking about it. I'm gonna get you some good stuff. I'm gonna make the membership still worth it. But YouTube was really fucking with me with the whole membership videos thing. Make sure you check out the 2 new playlists, because like 2 days ago you couldn't watch any of the membership videos. Now there's like 14 videos that you can watch that you couldn't watch before. I'll put a link link to the playlist somewhere on the video right here. Also, hype the video. Make sure to do that as well. If you go down below, there's going to be a link to the Discord. Discord's really fun. That's where we have the streams. That's where we have debates and all that different kind of stuff. That's really cool. You can go on there. Are you tired of this ad? So am I. Let's get back to the video. So that's enough talking about what these characters can't do. Let's talk about what they can do. And we're going to start with Star Wars. Now, a lot of people I think are going to be annoyed at the stuff that I have said about Star Wars, about them not being planetary and not doing all this other crazy stuff. But honestly, I think if you think that the strongest part about Star Wars and the Sith as a whole is just that they can destroy a lot of shit and move really fast, I think you're kind of underselling Star Wars a little bit. There's a lot of super impressive shit that the Force can do that people don't really talk about. They only really talk about the normal stuff for like the most extreme shit, right? They talk about Force Storm, or they talk about, you know, Force Lightning, or being able to see into the future or whatever. But there's so much more than that. I mean, there's a long list of like 40 or 50 different Sith powers that are super fucking impressive that we just don't really talk about. But you know what? I'm going to talk about them right now. Everybody knows what Force Choke is. It's the ability to choke a person with telekinesis far away. Do you know about Force Kill? The ability to literally remove the life force from a person's body, instantly killing them? What about Essence Transference, which is a Sith's ability to take their soul out of their body and throw it into the body of another person, basically consuming their soul and taking over their body? Kind of like Ginyu Force's Captain Ginyu, his little body swap ability, except you're not swapping, you're just like replacing theirs and saying, fuck you, you don't get a body. There's Deadly Sight, which is a Sith ability that anyone you look at just starts taking damage and getting ripped apart. It's very fucking graphic, actually. Like, on sight, like, you can't even let them fucking look at you? That's not fair. There's Force Fear, which makes everyone in the area absolutely fucking terrified of you. Force Scream, which is, as you'd think, it's a fucking scream. And when they scream, anyone who hears that scream fucking drops dead. Now, to be clear, only the most powerful users of Force Scream can actually kill them. Most people just damage their hearing or hurt them or break some shit around them or cause like this, like, force push all around the area. But the absolute most powerful people to just kill people that hear their scream. It's basically like fucking, you know, like Conqueror's Hockey from One Piece in a lot of ways. And then you have all the crazy shit that's not in any way related to the Sith, but it's still Force powers they can use, like Battle Meditation, which is an ability that in a war-like engagement, when there's thousands and thousands of people on two sides all fighting, Battle Meditation allows you to up the morale of one side while lowering the morale of the other side. It's like a willpower / mind control type-ish ability that basically guarantees that one side will win. You can literally use Battle Meditation when one side has 300 dudes and the other side has 10,000 dudes, and the 300 dudes could still fucking win because you sucked the fucking morale out of the 10,000 dudes. It's a bit of an exaggeration. I don't know if that's actually, you know, legitimately possible, but it's like that's the idea of the power. All of the Sith have the ability to use the Force to increase their speed and physical ability across the board, allowing them to do crazy shit that no normal man could possibly do. The Sith have the ability to control the metachlorians inside of a person's body, basically giving them at least somewhat kinda genetics manipulation. Like they can stop themselves from aging and keep themselves alive for super long periods of time, even stop themselves from dying in some occasions. They have the ability to fight off certain things like toxins and infections. As I've already said, they have an ability to a limited extent to see into the future. While most Sith, normal Sith, can only see like a split second in the future, some of them have trained it to such a degree that they can see visions from years into the future. They're not normally shown controlling these visions and like seeing what they can see. Like they're not like, okay, I'm gonna have a vision right now. It just kind of comes to them. It's not very battle, you know, helpful that much. But the part that is battle helpful is the whole looking of split second in the future during combat. That's very useful. Many Sith have the ability to Force Heal, completely sealing up wounds that had just opened a little while previously. There is a limit to how much this Force Heal could, like they couldn't fix fucking Anakin, for instance, when he burnt to a goddamn crisp, but on less severe wounds, it's actually very useful. They have the ability to completely control the minds of their opponents. However, it only works if they're weak-minded, but even if they're not weak-minded, they can somewhat influence their decisions to some degree. There's an ability called Force Stealth, which allows them to completely hide themselves from anything that's trying to locate them. This doesn't only include visuals, but also scanners and different things like this. Basically, they become completely invisible and no one can see them. And there are certain degrees to it. Like some people can use it just to hide the fact that they have Force abilities. This is why no one knew that Palpatine was a Sith Lord. They didn't feel any Force or sense any Force from him because he was using Force Stealth. But if you are really, really fucking good at it, you can just straight up become invisible to basically any form of location thing at all, including your, eyes. It's pretty cool. It's very useful in battle. There's Force Illusion, which allows you to actually alter the battlefield or alter anything you want and make your opponent see shit that's not there. Again, very useful in a combat situation. Point is, they got a lot of shit, guys. There's a lot of shit. So stop underselling them by being like they just know telekinesis and lightning powers. There's more to it than that. I will say, though, a lot of people are going to bring up Force Storm as being like the thing, because that's generally known as being like the most powerful thing the Sith can do, as it opens up this massive wormhole and you start sucking shit in. But I will say the likelihood of a Sith actually using that in a combat situation is very unlikely, because they can't control it. There's never, in any point anywhere in the books, has there ever been a Sith that can properly control that power. It's just kind of chaotic in nature. So if someone were to use it, it would kind of just be like a Hail Mary, let's just kill everybody here at right now. Let's just end all of our lives because we're gonna lose anyway sort of situation. But it wouldn't be a viable option to kill the Warframe and not kill the Sith. It just doesn't really work that way. Now, while rare, I have seen arguments of people saying that Palpatine covered a large section of the galaxy with a Force Storm, essentially spanning thousands of light years from the planet of Biss all the way to the planet of Coruscant. But saying this shows a massive lack of understanding of exactly what a Force Storm is. When you create a Force Storm, it has the potential of opening up wormholes to different locations. It's not that he created a Force Storm that stretched across an entire galaxy. It's that the Force Storm he created opened up a wormhole, one side of that wormhole being on Biss and the other side being on Coruscant. He essentially opened up a portal. It's also important to note that Palpatine was only capable of doing this because Biss is considered the nexus of all dark side power, and he was feeding off of that nexus in order to do this. Palpatine, under normal circumstances, cannot create a Force Storm at all. This was a very big plot point in that storyline. So just think about that for a second. Palpatine, one of the all-time strongest Sith in all of Star Wars lore, is not capable of making a Force Storm. This means that the number of Sith that actually will be capable of making a Force Storm is probably going to number in the single digits. But truth be told, this is very unlikely to even happen during a combat scenario because, one, it takes a ridiculous level of force to actually do it, and two, Force Storms are known to be extremely dangerous to create, even to the person creating them. Like, for instance, Palpatine got sucked into his own fucking Force Storm, and it nearly killed him. It's not like a character can use a Force Storm and just aim it at the Warframe. They would essentially be committing suicide and killing basically all the Sith as well. So basically, you just take this power and assume it won't be used at all. There's actually quite a few powers that the Sith have that are kind of held back by the double-edged nature of the powers. Shit that they do that, like, yeah, it hurts the enemy, but it kind of fucking sucks for me too. That does exist. That's pretty common. And while I did go on a bit of a tirade how the Sith aren't powerful enough to destroy planets and move stars and black holes and shit, it's not like they're not powerful. I mean, if we're talking about everything, this would include legends and video games and all that kind of shit. Starkiller did pull down a Star Destroyer out of the fucking sky. That's pretty cool. There are impressive shits. Like I said already, Palpatine did wrap an entire planet in a Force Storm. Again, nearly killed him, and it wasn't the smart idea to do, but he did do it. Like, there is stuff that they have that's super, super overpowered. I would even argue that a lot of this shit is more powerful than anything that we've seen the Warframes do, just outright in terms of just how much physical power force there is. So, will that be enough to face off against the Warframe? I don't know. I haven't covered the Warframe yet. Why don't we fucking find out and stop being so impatient? Much like the misconception section, Warframe is going to be kind of more difficult to do than the Star Wars section because, for the most part, all the Sith have a general grouping of powers that they all share. There are unique powers, like not everyone has battle meditation, only very few have battle meditation. Deadly Sight is another one that not that many characters have, but for the most part, the Force is the Force, and the way that you control the Force is 85% the same across the board, just the levels of power is what's different. When it comes to Warframes, every single Warframe has a totally different level of strength and speed and haxy power fucking abilities, and there's over 60 of them currently, and many of them have multiple powers that are unique to them. So I would have to bare minimum list off over 100 different powers for the Warframes. I'm not doing that. I'll list off some, but I'm not doing over 100. It's bullshit. There's whole Warframe channels out there that focus on this kind of shit. You can go watch them. I'm gonna give you a taste. You enjoy a taste. Chroma has adaptation abilities, capable of acquiring new abilities for whatever situation he finds himself in. Limbo has the ability to control this other dimension. He can fling people into that dimension and fuck them up while they're in that dimension. He can also kind of open up portals that sort of bring that dimension into our dimension, so he has somewhat control over this dimension as well, to a limited extent. Nova Rouga has power over antimatter, and she can literally destroy matter itself. Protea already talked about, she has time control powers. Gauss has the ability to take kinetic energy and convert it into speed. You have many elemental-based characters, like Volt has powers over lightning, and Ember has powers over fire, and Frost has powers over ice. Characters like Nekros, Saragoth, and Revenant have power over souls and life and death. Dante has powers over knowledge. The more knowledge that he acquires of something, the more power he has over that thing. And considering that he is a super genius who has been studying knowledge and is obsessed with learning new things, this makes him very fucking powerful. One of the most powerful characters in the series, arguably. I still think Chrome is probably the most powerful, or at least like top 4 or 5. I don't know. We'll see. That's the argument. People get upset about that shit. Rhino has the ability to alter his density, make himself weigh more or less, or increase his mass in some way or another, making him insanely durable and nearly impossible to destroy by people who exist within the series of Warframe. Atlas is a geomancer. He controls rock. Probably should have said him with the elemental characters. Jade controls healing energies. Nihilus has power over the infestation, which if you know anything about Warframe and how powerful the infestation is, that's some bullshit. And on and on and on and on. There's so many characters with so many powers. It's excessive. Much like their Haxi abilities, all of their physical abilities are also vastly different from one another, which makes this very difficult to try and discuss to you just how fast or strong or durable or whatever they are. And these are not just small differences, these are significant differences. I can tell you a couple of feats that we have in the series, but just know many of these characters just straight up don't have any. We don't see anything about their strength or durability or whatever across the entire series. I will say this, one thing that we do have is kind of speed. Every single Warframe, regardless of which one, has the ability to deflect an entire room of dudes all firing automatic weapons at them, and they can easily deflect. It's very casual for them. There is no debate to be had here. Bare minimum, these guys are considerably faster than sound at the absolute minimum. However, there are Warframes who are much faster. Like we know the fastest Warframe is Gauss, who again can literally turn kinetic energy into speed, and characters like Volt, who can use electricity to increase his own speed as well as the speed of everyone around him. So while we do have a bare minimum of speed, we do not have a maximum of speed for any of these characters. Some people argue they're up to light speed, but I think that this is not really that good. Like, we do see characters have light-based guns that shoot at them, and you can deflect the light, but are you reacting to the light itself, or are you reacting to the person firing the gun? If the people firing the gun are nowhere near that speed, then there's really no way you can argue that you are indeed light speed or even close to it. You're just reacting to where they're firing, and you're putting your sword where it needs to be to repel it when it comes fucking to you. When it comes to the automatic weapons, you can say that because there's literally like dozens upon dozens of dudes all firing automatic weapons at you at the same time, but there's never really a situation where you have like dozens of dudes all fighting light speed weapons at you and you're just fucking dodging and deflecting them like there's no big deal. That doesn't exist within the series. So yeah, I think like evidence would suggest that they're at the higher ends of hypersonic type speeds, but I don't know. I think light is a bit of a stretch. It's not unbelievable or impossible, but I do think it's a stretch. In terms of strength, this one is just straight up impossible to come with a lower end. There is no lower end. Most of the characters here don't have strength feats, and we know that the strength of the characters varies wildly. But to give you probably the best example that we have, there is one scene where Excalibur, who is not in even the top 3 or 4 strongest characters in the series, just to be clear, was stepped on by a massive mech that was, I don't know, fucking 8 stories tall. I don't know. I'm not good with height stuff just by sight, but it's really fucking big. It's a lot of tons, very likely several hundred tons, possibly maybe like 1,000 tons. I don't know. It's big. Look how big it is. It's super big. He steps on top of him, and while Excalibur is not capable of lifting the foot of this thing that steps on him, he does hold it there, and he doesn't allow it to push him down or crush him. So it's definitely still a strength. Like, he doesn't even like drop to his knees, but he very clearly can't lift it above his head. So this is a very clear limitation of what his strength is. It's a pretty decent limitation too. It doesn't push him down all the way, but he can't lift it over his head. Yeah, okay, that's cool. And as I said before, there are Warframes who are physically more powerful than he is. Characters like Rhino and Atlas are heavily implied to be the absolute physically strongest of all of the Warframes. But given that Excalibur is built up to be one of the best warriors of the Warframe and the best swordsman out of all the Warframe, he is a physical fighter. It does make sense that his strength would be in the higher end. Definitely physically stronger than someone like Dante or Limbo, whose physical strength isn't really their forte. And I'm just gonna be real with you, that's about as far as I'm gonna go on a Warframe for a single video. That's a lot, dude. There's a lot of stuff here. This is a packed fucking universe. Let's get get on to the actual verdict of which side would come out on top in an all-out fucking physical engagement. Just to give a little bit of clarification on what exactly we're doing here, we will not be doing space battles here. There's no space battles, no giant space war. We're just gonna have an army of Sith on the ground with their lightsabers against an army of Warframe on the ground. They're gonna clash and we're gonna fucking see who wins. That's all it is. If you are curious who would win if they did have a space battle, the Sith. Easily. They actually have a fleet. Warframe don't have a fleet. I mean, if you really want to be technical with it, all that has to happen is Palpatine has to fly one Star Destroyer into the Warframe universe, which is just the solar system, our solar system, and then just blow up the sun, and then boom, you're done. All life in the solar system would die, and it would just, it's over. Now we are finally on to the showdown. Who wins between these two powerful factions of great warrior monk slash kind of sort of magic creatures? And the answer is Warframe. Of course it's Warframe. Are you kidding me? Don't get me wrong. The Sith do have some benefits here, things that make them better than the Warframe. One good strength they have is the fact that all Sith, for the most part, share all of the same powers. There are different levels of strength, and some of them have unique abilities, but for the most part, all the Sith have all the same abilities, and they have a large variety of abilities. This is not the case for Warframe. This means that the Sith losing an individual in their army isn't nearly as big of a deal as the Warframe losing one of theirs. If the Warframe lose someone on their side like Protea has the ability to control time and Protea dies, well, guess what? The entire Warframe side now loses the ability to control time. That's gone now. You can't do that. This is not the case for the Sith. This might not sound like it's that much of an advantage, but it is actually a pretty big advantage. You also the fact that I'm pretty sure the Sith well outnumber the Warframe. We don't know how many Warframe there are, but at maximum, there's probably only like a couple thousand or so, if that. There aren't that many, whereas Sith, especially if you're talking about Sith across all of time, are a lot. They had whole Sith academies that were training hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Sith. Most of these bitches were like fucking weak and they'll be wiped out pretty easily, but they do greatly outnumber the Warframe. You also the fact that when you look into Legends, a lot of the Sith have Force abilities that are considerably higher tier of power than anything that we've seen from the Warframe. Starkiller grabbing a Star Destroyer and ripping it out of the fucking sky is really more impressive than anything we've ever seen a Warframe do. But outside of those three things, Warframe are better in basically every single category you could possibly think of. And they have a counter for literally every single thing a Sith can do. A lot of people, when they talk about Sith, they like to talk about the absolute most powerful shit that Sith can do. Like, for instance, the Force Storm that Palpatine makes, or the fact that Darth Nihilus and Darth Vitiate destroyed an entire planet by sucking all of the life energy or Force energy out of said planet. But what they always leave out of that is the fact that both Nihilus, Vitiate, and Palpatine all had to do these massive rituals in order to do these things. It's not something they can do by themselves. For instance, the ritual that Darth Vitiate did to suck all the life force out of a planet required the power of several thousand other Sith and killed them all in the process of doing it. It also took quite a bit of time. This is the same for Nihilus. Under normal circumstances, none of these characters can do shit like this. These aren't really battle-ready abilities. When people talk about these versus battle scenarios and they use the Sith and they start talking about shit like this, they very clearly didn't actually experience the stories where these things took place, because they would know they're not really useful at all in any way. Many people are going to really lean into the point that a lot of Sith can't die and have basically, they've gotten around it. It doesn't affect them. There are multiple ways this can be done, but most of the time it's done through essence transference, and there are Warframe that directly counter this ability, like Nekros, who can literally eat all the souls in an area. He doesn't even have to aim it or anything. If someone dies in the area around him, or a soul appears in the area around him, he automatically sucks it up, consumes it entirely, and it gives him power. This is about as much of a counter to that as you could possibly have. This means characters that use this power, like Darth Nihilus and Darth Vitiate, can't. They're kind of fucked. Considering those are some of the most powerful Sith in all of Sith fiction, Star Wars fiction, that's a big fucking problem. And for many of the Sith that straight up can't die, that don't have that essence transference ability, they just basically discovered immortality, which there are a couple like that. There's some Warframe that can do the exact same thing. Valkyr, for instance, is also completely immortal, and as long as she has some form of rage and continues fighting, she can't die. You can't kill her. There are also Warframes that can just outright resurrect themselves from the dead continuously, almost non-stop. stop, as well as Warframes that can resurrect other Warframes. This is something that Sith just straight up can't do. Now, it is stated that certain very, very skilled Sith like Darth Plagueis can keep people from dying, but that's very different than just straight up resurrection and bringing them back from the dead. No Sith anywhere in Star Wars is said to be able to do that, especially not on the scale that we see someone like Jade do it, where she can literally just throw out resurrections like, again, kind of like candy corn on Halloween. And this is just kind of the way it goes as you go down the list. Every single thing the Sith can do, the Warframe, because of the variety of their powers, have some kind of counter to it. I mean, even all the way down to their weapons. The lightsabers are cool, they're like these plasma swords, they're capable of cutting through all kinds of shit, and they're super, super hot. But Warframe have just as hot as shit. And they're capable of using that shit to block and defend against way hotter attacks, like Wisp, who has the ability to literally fire the fucking sun at people. She doesn't actually fire the sun at people. She basically opens up a portal in the sun, and then the energy of the sun is released outward in this blast, but it comes directly from the sun. That is considerably hotter than anything the lightsaber can do, and you can block this attack. There's a lot of characters that can block this attack. It's not like an unstoppable insta-death move. This attack doesn't even get through most of their shielding. That's another thing. Warframes have fucking shielding. This is another big part of Star Wars that people like to ignore, but force powers don't work behind shielding. This is one of the reasons why the Droideka were such a fucking big deal against the Jedi, because their force powers don't work on Droidekas as long as Droidekas have shielding up. There is a little bit of weirdness with this one, because if you watch the original trilogy, there's literally a scene where Darth Vader uses force choke on a guy who's like not even on the ship he's in, so wouldn't he have to go through the shielding of both ships, and it works? But there's also so many instances of it being clearly shown that the force doesn't work on the other side of shielding. So maybe it's based on the power level of the force user. Maybe certain force users can go through the shielding and some can't. But if that's the case, it doesn't really matter. Most Sith aren't going to be top tier Sith like Vader. They're a lot weaker. They're not going to be able to use their force abilities through any Warframe who has shielding, which is the vast majority. Warframe's abilities are also considerably more potent than most Sith's abilities. Sith do have mind control, but mind control is specifically stated to only work on the weak-minded, and their way of mind controlling people is usually through long-term influencing with the force, not just through, I want you to fucking shit yourself right now, and they just do it. Warframe characters also have mind control, but they can mind control whole groups of people in an entire area. It doesn't matter how weak-minded they are or not. They can just do it. It just is the way it is. Their potency of every one of their abilities are, for the most part, considerably more powerful. Oh, another thing about lightsabers that I just remembered, they won't be able to block a lot of the fucking bullets that the Warframe have. Yes, a lot of the Warframe's guns are just regular guns that lightsabers will be able to defend against, but many of their guns are specifically stated within this, like, lore of the story to be hit scan weapons and not fire projectiles. They automatically hit whatever they're pointed at, and they go through barriers. Like, they don't have to go through barriers because they're not projectiles. They just hit the thing that they want to hit, regardless of obstacles in the way. They just hit it anyway. That exists in this game. That means that a lightsaber putting it up to try and like block attacks from certain guns from the Warframe aren't going to do anything. They won't be able to block the guns. No projectile to block. I mean, shit, honestly, they're not going to be able to block most of the guns because lightsabers aren't particularly good at blocking kinetic projectiles at all. The Mandalorians use kinetic projectiles against the Jedi, and it really fucked them up. That means even if they do have projectiles, as long as those projectiles are kinetic-based, the Sith are fucked. Some Sith have the ability to fly. They can actually levitate themselves with the Force and fly. Guess what? All Warframes can fly because Archwings aren't that rare, and they all have them. They just have fucking jetpacks that can start flying around shooting all kinds of stuff. It just really doesn't matter what part of the lore you look at. Warframe are better. They're better in basically every single conceivable way. And even outside of that, a lot of the Warframes just have shit that are so brokenly over. It doesn't even exist in Star Wars. Like Nihilus's infestate. Wait, is his name Nihilus? Is that a coincidence that they're both named Nihilus, or am I thinking the wrong name for the Warframe? I think it's not Nidus. What the fuck? The Darth Nihilus got me all fucked up with who I'm trying to think of what I'm talking about. Anyway, I think it might be Nihilus. The fucking Warframe Nihilus has the ability to use infestation powers. I said earlier in the video, have you ever seen anything about the infestation? It's fucking impressive. The infestation's infestation is insanely powerful, and there really isn't a single Sith that's gonna have any defense for it whatsoever. He basically controls the flood infection from Halo, and he could just freely deliver that shit like fucking Amazon delivery packages. Just giving it out like fucking candy corn on Halloween. There's so many characters characters I can go over in Warframe that would just fuck up whole groups of Sith. Not necessarily the absolute strongest Sith, but the vast majority of Sith aren't the absolute strongest. Most Sith aren't that great. And honestly, I could take the absolute weakest of Warframes and they could wipe out like the bottom fucking 40-50% of Sith without that much trouble. I mean, fuck, Limbo can literally just teleport all the goddamn Sith in the area to a other universe dimension shit and just fucking keep them there. Boom, I just won. Half your army's gone now. It's just in this other universe, they can't come back. Good luck. It's not gonna happen though. And I might have mentioned this, but I haven't leaned on it that much. But I feel like you can't underappreciate the fact that Protea can control fucking time. That's usually an insta win when you have a character who can control time compared to a character who can't. The character who can generally fucking wins. Warframe can, Star Wars can't. Boom. Warframe fucking win. Their physicals are better. They have a wider variety of powers. Those powers are at a higher level. There's way more of those powers. Many of those powers are just more useful. They have shielding systems that Star Wars doesn't have. They have a larger variety of weapons and guns. Their guns can completely ignore the lightsabers. They can all fly. There's just so much shit. The Warframe win. This shit is fucking over. But if you enjoyed the video, if you look on screen right now, there's gonna be 4 videos popping up on screen. You want to keep checking out my shit? Just fucking click on it and boom, you can check that shit out. It's like magic. It's crazy how technology works. I would much appreciate it because the algorithm loves it when you click on these 4 videos. I don't know why. Like if you click on these 4 videos, they love it, and then you go down and they don't care about it that much. Like if you scroll down on YouTube and click one of those. But these 4, they're like, ugh, that fucking I just want to, those are orgasm noises. And always remember, y'all stay safe out there, you hear?